I was asked a couple of days ago if I was keeping the dream alive. What exactly does that mean, keeping the dream? I mean, I know what it means, but is the dream that you started with, as a child, the same dream that you continue to hold on to and strive to become as an adult? Or does it change? And maybe change isn't the right word. Maybe it gets altered and shaped as you go on in life and continue to develop or not develop. The first thing I ever wanted to be, as far as a career, was a cartoonist, which was stupid because I can't draw. But I thought that I had a decent enough sense of humor that, the drawing would come. But when you can't even draw Yertle the turtle in the back of a magazine to see how good your art skills are, then you probably have no shot of being a cartoonist. Later in life, in high school, I thought I was going to be a police officer. That's what's in my high school yearbook. And that was me keeping the dream alive. I was going to be a cop. That did not work out. I did become an investigator, which is still another podcast to be discussed on down the line. But, that changed as well. I thought that's what I was going to be forever. No, got into stand-up. And then when I became a comic, I thought that was the dream, keeping that dream alive. I was going to be a stand-up comedian, and I was, except I thought I was going to be, famous, keeping the dream alive, have my own show, make movies. That didn't happen. Got into radio. Radio was not the dream, but I kept it alive for 24 years. So my question to you people is, what is your dream and are you keeping it alive? And how does that tie into tonight's podcast? Well, our guest this evening, who I'll introduce here in just a little bit, is keeping his dream alive. And he's kept it alive for as long as I've known him. And I've known him a long, long time. So before we get to our guest, let me, of course, first introduce our guest bottle for tonight. Old Forester Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, courtesy of Mr. John Whitney, who produces our YouTube video. He brought it up from Kentucky for us. Tim Baldwin. Tim Baldwin got it for you. You brought it. You handed it to me. I got it from John Whitney. But credit where credit is due. Thank you, Tim, for giving it to John, who gave it to me. This is a 100 proof rye whiskey, and I'm telling you, for you whiskey enthusiasts, dollar for dollar, Old Forester gets it right just about every damn time. This only retails for like $23 a bottle, and it is an exceptional rye whiskey. Some of you more snooty rye drinkers may turn your nose up at it and go for your $69 to $89 bottles. That's fine. Those are excellent ryes. But I'm telling you, for $22 to $23, it's great. It's got a high rye content, as it should, 65% rye, 20% malted barley, and I believe only 15% corn. We'll taste it and get some thoughts on it a little bit later. Mr. Hansberry, do you have some things in business you want to take care of as well?
I do. Some odds and ends here. Subscribe to Whiskey Business wherever you listen to podcasts, on iTunes. The thing about iTunes is they have these algorithms. And when you rate and review Whiskey Business or any of your favorite podcasts, those fancy algorithms make it so that other people will find us. So when you rate and review, you're doing more than just
rating and reviewing.
Yeah, you're
spreading the word.
That's right. It's like
it.
the gospel. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. YouTube, Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis. We have all of our episodes filmed by John Whitney here, and they're unedited. So all of our fuck ups and stuff that my drunk nonsense that I cut out of the podcast. It's all all on the YouTube channel.
That stuff lives forever.
So subscribe to us there.
And I get great joy out of watching Hansberry.
Yes, thank you.
I progress through the evening. Or regress. I don't know what the proper terminology would be.
Yes. And then other than that, share. If you have some degenerates like us, let them know about the show.
Keeping the dream alive is my guest, George Caleodis. Georgie, I call him Georgie Caleodis.
I'm going to be 50 this year, Dino.
We both come from Steubenville, Ohio. I still call you Georgie
I'm
Boy.
I'm a 50-year-old man, and I still let him call me Georgie.
I call you Georgie
Sport
Boy.
Can you see the propeller on my hat when he calls me that?
It's affectionate. I've known you a long time.
Of course.
Georgie boy's better than Georgie girl.
That's true.
Though you do possess a Lynn
much.
Redgrave quality
Thank you. I'm comfortable enough in my masculinity to accept that compliment as it's meant on its face. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Georgie and I grew up in Steubenville, Ohio. You're going to be 50 years old. I'm going to be 60. There were 10 years apart with us when we were growing up. So while we grew up together, we weren't in the same social circles at a young age. But as we got older, that gap started to close a little bit, and we started hanging out and doing things. And here's the thing. George Caleodis, by the way, let me just go down a list of credentials, if I may. You can currently see him on NBC's Superstore, right?
Couple of times. Just
playing
a couple episodes.
playing the odd customer.
That's it.
The odd customer.
Yes. Maybe I'll have a name one day.
If you're a fan of
Number one.
Yeah, creepy guy. It's either odd person or creepy guy.
he did a guest spot on Criminal Minds back in 2015. I watched that
Yeah,
episode.
it wasn't so much me that had the guest spot, but my headshot. My picture got more screen time than my actual face.
Yeah, Gary Fisher.
Gary Fisher.
Gary Fisher.
Killed by a vigilante for picking up a hooker.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Typecasted.
Yes, of course.
Also, I mean that's some current stuff. You go back into Georgie's world. He's an improv comedian, improv actor. He's a musician. He is an esteemed math professor.
Thank you very much.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. Talk about keeping the dream alive.
I mean that has paid the bills through the years.
It has. I cannot complain.
You're a genius.
I don't know about that.
You're a math professor. Math is like my worst all-time subject ever.
Really?
Oh, I'm horrible at math. Horrible.
Because you don't like it?
I don't like it,
Or
and I
because
don't
somebody
understand it.
somebody was mean to you when you were a child.
Yes.
Usually it boils down to that.
Yes.
It usually boils down to some mean teacher
All the
early on
above.
in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually stole the exam in Geometry 2 or Algebra 2. I can't remember which one it was. Geometry, Algebra. They're all the same,
They're all
right?
the same. It's all a bunch of tree hugging hippie crap.
I'll never use this again.
we
Exactly.
actually stole the exam and got all the answers. And the idiots that we were in high school, everybody got all the same answers wrong or right, because we said let's get a couple wrong to make sure so it doesn't look so suspicious.
Yeah.
And then everybody got the same ones wrong.
Yeah.
And all of the same ones right. So
What's fun is when you give two different versions of a test and you get answers from test A on test B.
nice.
That was in the early days of cheating before the internet when you had to steal tests. That's like the wood burning version of cheating. Nowadays, it's all like cell phones and smartwatches, and people have their iPod with like headphones in a hat, and then their iPod is connected to their iPhone. So I don't let them have their phones, but then the iPod is playing stuff through the headphones into the hat, and they're using that to cheat.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
awesome.
nuclear.
I actually looked you up on Rate This
Oh,
Professor.
did you? Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Great.
I have
Yeah.
not. What's it say? I have not looked that up lately.
Engaging and comprehensive.
Oh, that's good.
Not an easy class.
No, calculus is not easy.
Is that what you teach?
That's what I'm teaching right now. Is calculus. Yes.
Right now.
Yeah.
What do you- have
They
you done?
bounce me around. Sometimes it's algebra. Sometimes it's trigonometry. Sometimes it's statistics. But now
How'd
lately it's
you
calculus.
Go into how was math your calling?
It was not my calling. It was something I was able to do. It was something I was able to, like, I would take the classes that I took when I was at Ohio State. I would take like a chemistry class or a history class. I would take the test. I would write a bunch of shit down to fill up the time that I was supposed to be taking the test. I get the test back. I still don't know what I did wrong. Math was something that I could like correct eventually. I could eventually get it. It eventually made sense to me. I was never a whiz at it. And I ended up in it because I had discovered, I was trying to be in a band. I was trying to do bands
You're
all
also
through
a
college.
musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I ran into MCTD, and I became
Midwest Comedy Tool and Die, an improv group that started here in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, in the late 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing keyboards for them. And while I was in school, they were hiring undergrad native English speakers to be TAs. They didn't have enough grad students that were native born English speakers. So they were trying to, trying to not pad the stats, but they're trying to balance things out a little bit.
Sure.
It was more money than I could make flipping a burger. So I applied a couple of times and I ended up getting it. So then by the time I graduated college, I was MCTD was going on. I was still trying to do bands. I was like, I need to stay in school. If I go to grad school, it's pretty much what I'm doing now, but I won't have to pay tuition.
Right.
So I went to grad school in math as a way to like keep my music and comedy career going. And then I spent 3 years.
Math was your was your side hustle.
Yes, it was. Math was my side hustle because it was something I was able to do, unlike stand up. Anyway, stand up was my cartoonist. Me wanting to be was like you trying to be a cartoonist. I was a stand up, but I just wasn't particularly
couldn't
funny.
draw the
I
urinal.
never quite found my
Okay,
voice.
let me stop you there.
Okay.
Not particularly funny. Here's the thing, but you're very funny.
Thank you.
You're very funny. You do superb improv.
Thank
I mean, you're very funny. But when we were growing up, you didn't strike me as a funny kid or a funny guy.
I was all about the rules growing up, man.
I
didn't discover like subversiveness or like like breaking out or like rising.
I would never look at Georgie Caleodis.
Yeah.
George
Whatever.
Caleodis.
It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Georgie, I
Georgie's
like
fine.
Georgie.
Georgie's
I would
fine.
never look at Georgie Caleodis back in the studio and go, "Yeah, someday he's going to be a funny guy in an improv troupe, and he's going to be on the main stage at Second City in Cleveland, Ohio, which you've also done.
I have.
Yes, right. I mean, these are accomplishments,
Thank you.
huge ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the time I always needed like a day gig to keep those things going.
But
And
where
that-
did the desire to want to do comedy even come from?
That's a great question. Well, at first it was just music, and I was playing keyboards for MCTD, and just being around those guys, it was just such we were friends. It was a great time. I was part of their farm team. They had a farm team called MC Squared.
MC
So I
Squared.
was part of the farm team. So they'd go out on the road and we would cover their gigs. So we're at the Bone once a week, and we're doing all these. And so you can't be around these funny guys and not have a little bit of that rub off on you. So one night I got my gumption up, and it was the showcase night at the Funny Bone, and I asked Stroop if I could do 5, and he's like, "Sure, you got 5 minutes? Go do 5 minutes." And the first laugh I got, man, it's just like it's the most powerful narcotic in the world.
That
man.
is
When
very
you're
true.
Chasing the dragon for the next
Keeping
10
the
years.
dream alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember my first open mic as well at the Ramada. Remember the Ramada, the comedy club at the Ramada?
Worthington, like
No,
North
right
High
there on
Street?
Morse Road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Morse Road. Not there anymore.
No.
But that was the same thing too. I went up there the first time, and the first laugh I got,
That's it, man.
was like, "Oh,
Yep.
this is kind of cool."
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
done after that, man. It's
Yeah.
like, and then the next 27 times you go up suck,
Yeah.
and then you get a little bit of it back, and then eventually you either find your voice or you move on and do something else.
That's an interesting point. Finding your voice. Do you think over the years that you've been doing this that you have a voice, a distinct voice, a distinct style as far as what you do? For example, let's talk about the training for Second City. I mean, did you have to have a unique voice to get into that particular group of people?
No, it's all about just learning to be in the moment, and then once you find people that you play well with, you sort of figure out. It's like working in any ensemble. You kind of figure out where you fit. Like I'm the angry guy, or I'm the voice of reason, or I'm the silly premise generator, and so all that training is just to get you to be in the moment and play with the people that you play with, and then once you start to try to like form an ensemble, then you kind of see where you fit in.
This was in Cleveland.
Yes.
We did the Second City.
Yeah, Second City had a group in Cleveland and Georgia.
Do they still do?
No,
Okay.
no. Second City Cleveland, which we affectionately call "looked good on paper,"
Yeah.
because it lasted. The main stage only lasted like 2 years, but there was a whole build up to it.
There was.
There was years of they're going to be at this location or this location. They have classes, so there were about 3 carloads of us from Columbus that were driving up weekly to take courses there, and then eventually, it fell off and fell off and fell off until eventually it was just me and Joe Teeters. But there was all that build up, and then there was like 2 years of main stage, and then they stuck around for a little bit as a training center, and then they just
But
Second
still,
City got out of the.
it's a feather in your cap.
Oh, yeah,
I
it
mean,
was great to
you
do.
went through all the classes.
Yeah.
You did the training. You were part of an organization that is legendary as far as some of the great comedic minds
Sure.
that have come from there.
Oh yeah, I was very lucky. I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
and I got to teach. That was probably the best thing for me when I got to LA was because it gave me like a home base of operations because I was like teaching there. So it's like I sort of had a little bunch of people that I didn't have to impress, like because they already knew me. You know, in LA, everybody's impressing everybody, and everybody's got an angle, and everybody's got a story, and it's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. But I didn't have to necessarily do that in Second City.
How do you handle that? Because you don't strike me as that type of guy. How do you handle
I
that?
don't. I am a self-loathing actor. If I get in a room with 20 other actors and that big actor energy flares up, I just get smaller. I just like shut up. I just watch.
Why?
And shrink away. I don't know.
Because you strike me as a confident
I
guy.
think it's imposter syndrome. I think is
Oh,
what
like
it
you
is.
don't deserve to
like
be
I don't
there?
deserve to be there. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you feel like an imposter when you were teaching math? Did you feel like, oh man, I got away with something here?
No, because with math I figured it out. There's
figured it out.
there's a sense of absolute truth there, right? Comedy's subjective, art is subjective. So you can bullshit about what's good or what's not or what's valid or what's not. But when it comes to math, it's either right or it's wrong.
So as far as your confidence goes, from where you started with comedy and acting and to where you are now, has it improved?
Oh, yeah. I've
saying
gotten a lot more comfortable.
I'm a self-loathing actor. You
Yeah.
saying there's still a moment where you might be in the room with those 20 actors and, and continue to shrink?
No, it's you know what it is. I don't want to fight. It's like I'm not going to fight my way through them to be heard or to get stage time. There's a lot of that. Everybody in Columbus, when you're in an improv troupe, of course, things are a lot different now. There's a ton of improv going on in town
There's
now.
a ton of improv in Columbus right now.
But there was a time when it was just like one or two troops. So that if you were able to pull it off at all, you were impressing somebody. Out in LA, there's no open space that doesn't have a show going on at some point of people trying to showcase themselves or look at me, look at me, look at me. And so like fighting through that, it's like I just feel like I don't know, maybe it's a symptom of age. It's like you guys want the stage time? Go do the stage time. Do your thing. I want to see you be funny. Go ahead. I'm just going to sit and watch because like I just don't want to fight about it with people anymore. You know what I mean?
What does it take to be seen?
That's a
LA?
great question. You need a show with a hook, with either a celebrity or naked people
or naked celebrities.
Naked celebrities. That would be the best if you can do that.
Subscribe at Whiskey Business with Dino Travotis.
Exactly. Or you just need some kind of hook, some kind of an angle, right? For a while there was this great show that was going on. They don't do it anymore. It was oh man, a little too much of the.
or not nearly enough.
What was the Keanu Reeves movie where they were surfers? Point Break. They had a show called Point Break Live, and the premise I had nothing to do with the show. It was just hilarious, and it had a little bit of some legs. The premise was they would take a random audience member who didn't understand what was going on, so somebody would bring somebody to the show that didn't really get what was about to happen, and they would make them play the Keanu Reeves role with all the lines on cue cards. And it was brilliant. You know, and so like that was the hook, is somebody who doesn't realize they're going to be in the show and they're playing the Keanu Reeves role, and hopefully the comment was pulling it off better than Keanu Reeves did.
No, that's funny.
So there's got to be some kind of hook or some kind of an angle. Just the fact that you're doing it at all is not impressing anybody. Mm-hmm. But here, when we were doing improv, if you could pull together a show that was at all coherent, it was a beautiful thing, and it still is.
You guys had some brilliant shows, and why do you think that there's been this improv explosion?
That's a really good question.
You keep saying that. You're making me feel very good about myself.
That's a good question. I don't know why now the explosion. There's the Nest Theater that came to town,
Right.
and
Big
that's
deal.
sort of like sort of rallied the troops. I mean, there were already 3 or 4 camps doing stuff. You know, Mad Lab has been doing stuff all these years.
Mad Lab is brilliant.
Yeah, and there's hashtag, and those people know how to hustle. You know, and
Did some of these groups feel threatened when Nest came into town?
You know, I can only imagine, having gone through the Second City crap that I did.
Right.
I can only imagine, yes.
Yeah,
But
probably.
I wasn't there, so I didn't. there's always that kind of
New
political
kids
crap.
in town doing it,
Yeah.
with the means to do it bigger and better. And,
Yeah, but that's a good thing.
But they still
it's
need the
like,
talent.
That's true. But it's like it's the whole competition is good because competition causes people to like step up their game.
Step up their game. Right.
And so now you've got it's amazing. You can 3-4 nights a week you could go see improv if you wanted. I love it.
I think just in Columbus in general, the music scene, podcast, I think there's a little bit more bubbling up. I think improv is a little DIY like a podcast. So it's easy for somebody to be like,
That's true.
let's jump in. You're not
Yeah.
doing calculus.
We don't need
So,
sets. We don't need to
yeah,
memorize lines.
I think across the board, the art community is starting to thrive a little bit here locally on that level.
My experience with improv was I actually went to Chicago and I was actually part of Comedy Sports. Do you remember Comedy Sports?
Of course.
Yeah, I started.
They have a comedy sports team down at the Nest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was part of Comedy Sports there for a
Nice.
minute, and it didn't really take off, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then I think it was maybe a year or 2 years ago, I was a guest improver with Hashtag. And
Nice.
I had a blast.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
blast.
When it works, it's a thing of beauty,
yeah.
man. Even when it doesn't work, it's a thing of beauty.
and it made me think, maybe, should I start doing improv? But
You have to come play a geezer show with us.
a geezer show.
Joe Teeters, who I keep bringing up, he's like my improv
I understand.
mentor. He's like
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's the guy that I thought was going to get on the main stage in Cleveland instead of me. I truly thought it was going to be Joe because he's one of the most supportive, uninhibited,
Right.
joyful improvisers I've ever worked with. I mean, ever in my career. He organizes a show called the Geezers of Improv, where we get people that were doing improv. Tim Lucas,
Oh my God, Tim
Bob
Lucas.
Goldstein.
Oh my God.
Who else? Gage. Whoever's in town. Robert Holmes joined us a couple of times. Just people that were doing it when we first started doing it, and we just do a show. Just a bunch of old dudes and gals that used to do improv in the 80s and 90s, and that's our hook. It's like we're these old people that
It's a
have
good
nothing
hook.
to prove. We're not. We know no one's
We're
going to end up.
seasoned. We know how to do this.
No one's going to be driving a Rolls Royce because of their mad improv skills. You know what I mean? And so we just know keeping the dream alive. We
Yeah,
just know that
keeping the
dream is
dream
dead.
alive.
We're here to eviscerate the dream.
We had Jeff Gage and Jake Anarino
There you go.
on when we were on an early podcast when we first started talking about improv comedy and some of the essentials that are needed. The trust and some of the skill sets that are some of the basic rules, if you will.
Yes, and, yeah.
in order to be successful in improv, don't negate, et cetera, et cetera. They were great guests, and Jeff Gage, who is still here in town, is you talk about the geezers. He's kind of like
Yeah.
the old soul, the king, if you
Yeah,
will.
and he's still doing Improv Wars, right? He was running Improv Wars.
Yeah. I mean, and
yeah.
talk about a fast, brilliant mind.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Gage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean
His Dennis Hopper impression to this day.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jeff Gage for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I'll be laughing hysterically within those 5 minutes. He's just he still has that that gift.
Yeah.
Just in
So,
shooting back and forth.
Next time
conversation.
Joe puts together a geezer show, I'm going to call you and you can come play with us.
I would
Yeah.
love that. I would love to do that because I had such a good time with the hashtag people.
Yeah.
Of course, that was when I was a radio personality. I don't know if they'd want me to come back now as just another.
As a podcast,
well,
now you're
as
a
Empire.
As
Now
a
you're-
my podcast empire.
Now you're an influencer.
Yeah. Tell that to my mother. Tell that to my mother. What are you doing, honey? What are you doing these days? Mother, I am an influencer.
I'm influenced.
I influence people.
Isn't that why you
What
can't
is-
go back to Pittsburgh?
What does that? You're an influencer. Does that come with benefits? Is there a hospitalization plan if you get sick?
Hello, Mr. Landlord. Your rent is coming. It's in influence.
Yeah. I mentioned my mom. Let's talk about
Yeah.
your parents.
Yeah.
Your mother, God rest her soul,
Yeah.
left us way
She did.
too young. I was thinking about you earlier today, and kind of going through my head about our time in Steubenville, and it's amazing. I can bring up a mental picture of your mother immediately, and the thing that comes up is just how much joy she had. She was such, and I'm kind of curious because your dad, because I love your dad. I love your dad, but your dad is a little more straight and narrow. I mean, really straight and narrow. But he has a sense of humor.
He does.
He does.
And
but,
a sense of showmanship.
yes.
That's where I get.
Yes.
That's where I get the performance.
But
from.
but I gotta think that some of the joy for life and fun had to have come from your mother.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Because she was just this
Yeah, and she was-
bright light, man. This energy everywhere. Every time she was, you wanted, you liked being around her.
Yeah, she was wonderful. She had a closet that to this day we're still not done emptying out. She had a closet that she would put gifts in for people that she knew people. She knew everybody's birthday and everybody's kid's name day and anniversaries, and she just had this closet full of little tchotchkes that she had gotten from various places. Oh, this is going to be for so and so's birthday. Oh, this is going to be for so and so. There's still crap in that closet from '97 that we haven't emptied out.
Yet?
Yeah, she was just very warm and loving. And
Oh, man,
open.
she was-
And it's ironic because once she passed away, that's about the time I started going to Cleveland, and I don't know that I would have done it. I know for a fact I wouldn't have moved to Cleveland. Quit. The term I got tenure. I was teaching at Columbus State. The term they gave me tenure, it looked like I might have a shot at getting on the main stage in Cleveland. So they were like, "Here's your tenure." I'm like, "Here's my resignation."
Wow,
And
right?
I moved to Cleveland, hoping that I would get on the main stage because it looked like I had a shot, and that's what. But had she not passed away, I don't know that I would have had the guts to do it.
Why?
Because it was like, man, life is short. What do you want? Do you want to?
So her passing early.
It like kicked me into like, you have to be open to doing whatever comes next in your life, because you can't just be
Go through doors that open.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't know if I would have taken classes, or I would almost be willing to bet I would not have moved to Cleveland or been open to the possibility of moving to Cleveland had she not passed away, because it just so rocked my world. I hadn't lost anybody, like no family member. My great grandmother passed away, but I was too young to know that that's what
Right.
had happened. All I knew is she went to heaven, right? But I had not gone through mourning or loss or anything, so it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I spent a year and a half, man, just drunk. And if it hadn't been for my friends, especially my improv friends, I'd be dead right now. Like, they took care of me. They they made sure I got home. My chairman, I was doing dark stuff. I would be drunk and still trying to do my job, and
Teach
people would-
math?
Yeah, not really drunk, but I would have alcohol with me at school, just trying to get through the day. My whole world was just like on its side. My chairman would be like, why don't you let me take your last class today? How about you go home a little early today? And so I just had people taking care of me, like just all these angels around.
You're
that were like,
fortunate.
yeah, I was very fortunate.
You're fortunate because you could have just continued to
Yeah.
spiral down.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky that I had these good people around me. That's kind of why improv was so important to me. Is like, once I pulled out of it and I realized what was going on, I was like, wow, like look at all these, like, and they didn't have anything to gain from it. They were just friends of mine. They were just trying to help. They were just being there and being supportive, like supportive off stage, improvising off stage. My father,
Your pops
is where I got my sense of showmanship from. Dad, to this day, Dad just does more gigs than I do. He goes off and does these poetry readings for like Rotary clubs and
Your father's a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
For starters, he's got an authoritative presence. He commands a room when he comes into it, without a doubt.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's big on preparation,
Yes.
so he doesn't go in. It's so weird because it's kind of the opposite of improv, but he's so present in the moment when he's doing his stuff. He has an agenda, but he's willing to abandon it. I think he would have made an amazing improviser. Like, I think he would have made like a Ryan Stiles level improviser if he had gotten the gumption to do it, because he's so prepared but so willing to turn on a dime. And when he goes in and he loves the written word and he loves, like you said, he's very intelligent. So he's dissected things when he goes in. He knows, he's got all the patterns ready. He knows what he's about to do.
How did he feel? Well, obviously, he's got to be proud of you because you are a math professor and you continue to teach. But how did he feel about you going into this world of comedy and acting and music and so forth?
Completely supportive.
Yeah.
All they said growing up, even growing up, I showed like a penchant for music, and I was at one point thinking about, hey, maybe I'm going to be a musician. Maybe that's what I'm going to do. I never thought I would be an actor or a comedian. I just loved acting and comedy. But I thought at one point I might be a musician. And they both said, you do whatever you want. Whatever you're driven to do it. Just make sure you have a way to pay the bills. And not teaching high school. They were both high school teachers. They said...
your father taught...
English.
Yeah,
high school English.
Yeah.
And so did my mother before.
I never had him.
I didn't either. My brother did.
I never had him.
Somehow my brother was allowed to have him in class, but I was not.
I had.
Did you steal that
I
test?
had
Oh, that would be hilarious.
I got to experience at some point Pete Caleodis, choir director.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing about that.
Church choir
Yeah,
director.
that's like herding cats, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine now with all the production
Man.
stuff you've done. Imagine the worst producing gig in the world. Like beyond just apathy, beyond just negligence. Imagine people like actively not helping and then having to still be the producer.
Yeah.
So
and he would get
yeah,
pissed.
yeah.
He was scary.
Well, yeah, because he
was
had to
scary
be.
in
because-
a good
yeah,
way. I
yeah.
mean, he was scary. I mean,
Yeah.
you did not fuck around
Yeah.
with choir
Yeah.
with your father.
Right, because somebody, I can totally put myself in his shoes, right? Having done some of the production that I've found myself in the role of producer from time to time, I could totally see where he was coming from. Like, this has to be deadly serious to somebody, or it's not going to get fucking done. You know what I mean?
It's all the music that the choir would sing in church. It was
Yes.
a Greek Orthodox church. So,
Right.
and your father is a devout man.
Yes.
And he took it seriously.
Yeah.
He took it very seriously.
Well, yeah, because somebody had to. Because if he didn't, it would never, it wouldn't come together. Especially like during Lent, when you have all the special services and all these special hymns. Because have you ever had a hymn crash and burn before? That's one of the great things. That's one of the great things that improv taught me is how to fail and just like spectacular.
If you're gonna go down, go down big, baby.
Flames like you're up to your neck, man. Just put your head under and start sucking in water because that and once you lose that fear, then you're free. So it's like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? So
were you in the choir with your father when he was?
I was.
Yeah, okay.
Well, at various times,
various
not
times.
the time you're talking about, because I was in Sunday.
I was gonna
school
say,
at
were
that
we
point.
ever in the choir together?
No.
I don't recall.
No.
Okay,
No.
all right, we weren't. Were we altar boys together ever? Were you coming?
We might have been altar
were you-
boys because I was just starting. Probably
yeah,
when you were on
you
your
were
way
coming
out.
up in the ranks,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You showed him the ropes.
Yeah, how to set fires in the thimiato, in the censer.
Yeah. How to
Where
put
where the sacrificial wine is kept.
Yeah.
Don't lock up those bottles.
Don't,
Sacramental
speaking
wine,
of
that's-
lock up, don't lock up your knees during Easter
No,
services.
oh.
Who passed out more
Yep.
than anybody?
Yep,
Me.
right there.
Nice.
Yeah, don't
Me.
lock your knees when you're
Oh,
standing
yeah.
there.
I
Now
was
my
famous
time,
for passing out.
at one point, the choir had a grab bag parlay during during Holy Week. So you paid $5 and you got to pick a name of an altar boy out of a bag. And if your altar boy went down, you won the pot.
Yes. It was big money.
We did that one year.
I passed out at least 3 different times as an altar boy because I did. I locked my knees and
stare at the candle. Don't stare at the candle.
And I would go down. So I was not a good money bet. I was I was even money at best. I was not a long shot. You wanted to go for the long shot if you wanted to win something. And then Dino, I'll get even money on Dino.
Didn't Taki Romeos take you aside at one point and say, "Listen, man, don't lock your knees.
Don't lock your
Don't
knees.
stare at the
Everybody told me don't stare at
candle."
everything that they told me not to do. That's
you did that.
immediately what I did.
Because it's fresh in your mind.
Don't
That's
do it, don't do it.
hilarious.
But I was in the choir, and I enjoyed being in the choir. I had Panamastros and your dad both.
Yeah, they switched off. They do like 20 years at a time.
Yeah.
Like one will do 20 years and then they'll quit, and that's it. I'm done. And then the other one will do 20 years. And my dad's latest stint, he was supposed to be the interim choir director 25 years ago. He's been the interim choir director
for
the last 25
years.
But it's amazing because that taught me. My last director. I did a show, a stage show. It was a musical version of King Lear, but it was a parody. The director was one of my directors at Second City. His name's Ron West. He was Strudwick on Third Rock from the Sun. So he's like tall dude, balding, patches on his elbows, round glasses. Always looks like he's pissed off, but he's not pissed off. But that's the guy he plays all the time. He said, I can always tell when I've got somebody who was in a church choir in my cast, because you learn from an early age how to fit in and how not to fit in, like how to screw around, but also how to get the job done, and how to find your place in the pack. And so being in the choir taught me more about performance probably than anything else I've done.
100%. I mean, you look back at Elvis, right? He learned how to play guitar. I learned how to play guitar playing in the church choir. Yeah.
See, there you go. I always loved that growing up, man. My friends would have churches where they had guitars in church. We never had a guitar. We had an organ and a choir, and that was it. You never got to have drums.
The folk group on Saturday afternoons.
See, I think I would have
our
loved
church
that.
is a little more structured and regimented. It's not the free spirit,
Old
Crazy
school.
Catholics.
Yeah, none of those hip preachers wearing jeans.
Sandals.
I went to not to disparage the way anyone worships. I mean, I said it's the last thing I want to do, but I went to a friend's wedding, and it was like basically in a mall. It was like a storefront in a mall. It was more of a stage show than I mean, that's the way it looked to me. I shouldn't judge. People get to worship however they want to worship. But that whole idea was so foreign to me. It's like, wait, you don't do the same thing every week? There's a thing you have to do every week. There's a book.
There's a script.
There's a script you have to follow. There's little changes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I time it out because I know exactly how much time I have. I know how long I can leave the church
and
go
run
out
the
to
Canadian,
the break room, get back in. I got this figured out. You don't have that. You might actually do something different every week.
Exactly.
The break room.
Yeah, there was a little carryout in downtown Steubenville. It's downtown Steubenville, Canadian grocery.
Yeah.
And we would time it so we're like, I'm gonna run and get some Funyuns, and I'll be back by the time we're getting ready for the Lord's Prayer. Okay, great.
Yeah, it was the Canadian grocery, and then as we got a little older, right across the street was a spot bar.
Bar.
I
never made any spot bar runs. I didn't have that kind of cojones. I didn't have those kind of cojones, but I'd go to Canadian.
No, you go to Canadian grocery.
Yeah, so like there's like the Funyuns right in front of the porn mags, the rack of porno magazines, and we'd run back to church.
I always wondered if it was actually Canadians that owned that grocery, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Why was it called Canadian
That's
grocery?
a great question. I don't know.
Another great
We
question.
need to
Thank
track
you.
that down. Next time you're in Steubenville,
Find out why it's called Canadian grocery.
Yeah, someone's got to know. There's a Facebook group. I was born in Steubenville, Ohio. There's a couple of them, but one of them's called I was born in Steubenville, Ohio. I bet if you went on there and posted it, somebody would know.
Somebody who knows why it's called Canadian grocery.
He's not on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook personally.
Whiskey business.
Whiskey
will post.
business is
Good.
We're
Whiskey
about as
business
far-
could join.
That's
Okay.
as far as I get. That's
Well,
as far
then.
as I go.
Yeah.
With the Facebooks.
I have to. It's a tool of the trade. You can't be an actor and not have a Facebook. I mean, you can, but that's where everybody promotes their shows. Hey, come see me doing,
God.
Danny and the Deep Blue Sea.
Then
but
I
it's
will language in continued obscurity.
Okay.
If that's the case.
Unless you subscribe at iTunes, subscribe at YouTube Whiskey Business Podcast. With
I mean,
Dino
I do. I feel with these YouTube videos and the podcast, I'm self-conscious. I feel like I'm out there way more than I care to be, as far as visually speaking.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what you feel.
It's the version of as in bands we'd always there was always the once a week walk up and down High Street to staple flyers onto those round kiosks they had on the sidewalk. So Facebook is sort of that now.
Go ahead.
Did you ever do any of that for any of your shows? Did you ever have to promote coming up? Did you have to promote your shows? Come see me do stand up at this no. It was always the club would do that for you.
Yeah, club all did that.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I was very lucky.
Everything was handed to him.
I wouldn't go that far.
No,
there's a whole.
He's taking a shot at me. He's taking it because he knows how radio
I've been his producer
started.
for
He knows how
10
radio
years.
started.
Oh, I see.
Radio was handed to me on a golden platter. All I had to do was
join
make
us.
sure is that I kept the platter clean. and didn't tarnish it. I've gotten a lot of that, and I was very fortunate in my early stand-up days that there was a comedy explosion, a renaissance, if you will, of stand-up at that particular time, and I was lucky to be on that wave when that happened, and I was very fortunate. Going from the Ramada, I won a comedy competition at the Funny Bone. All of a sudden, I got a $500 check from Johnny Walker, and 13 weeks at the Funny Bone twice a year. I got 26 weeks of work as an opening act.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, so
That's amazing.
it was amazing. So I'm blessed.
You earned it though. I'm
did
giving you
earn it.
shit, but
And radio's hard work, all right? I mean, I've done a little radio.
Yes, you have. You've done that as well.
But- and
you do everything.
And that was a little bit of that was handed me too, because I was spouting off. I was basically drunk in Andy Mann's bar and spouting off. He's like, "Hey, why don't you come down to the station and hang out?" And
Yeah.
I kept doing it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't go away. Like it happened once. He's like, "You want to come back?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I kept coming down and seeing him and working on stuff. And then eventually he's like, "You want to go on the air on weekends?" And then one thing led to another, and there you go. God rest his soul.
God rest
To
his soul,
Andy Mann.
Yeah, we talked about Andy Mann when I had Randy Malloy on the program. He's still missed. Okay, so this kind of segues into the next thing I want to talk about. I mentioned that we do this podcast. I also have the privilege and the pleasure of doing a podcast with you
Yes.
and a bunch of lunatics.
Yes.
If you've never listened to Squatch Smashers, that's always hard for me to say.
Squatch Smashers. Yeah.
Squatch Smashers.
Yes. There's
Squatch-
too many labial sounds in that
Yes,
word.
Squatch Smashers
Or what do they call that? Glottal sounds.
is
Any
a
linguists?
comedy podcast that you and Darren, who was in town recently, stopped by the house and we had a cocktail and we talked. But Squatch Smashers is an episodic comedy podcast with a bevy of characters. Somewhere, I don't know, towards the middle of this creation, I was asked to join in as a character, but explain the whole premise of it.
Okay. So it's radio theater is what
It
it
is.
Yeah. So with this flare up of podcasts going on, Darren, who is one of the funniest people I've ever worked with,
He's a very clever man.
very funny, just hilarious, and also full of joy. He reminds me of my mom in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you know what?
Right?
When you say that out loud, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full of joy.
Full of joy.
He's the first one I would run a joke by, because if Darren didn't laugh, it wasn't worth pursuing. It's like, if you thought something was funny and you told it to Darren and he did not react, kill it, because it's not worth it, because then nobody's gonna laugh. So he was one of the improvisers that I worked with early on, and improv doesn't attract people that are really looking to put in a hard day's work. You know what I mean? A lot of times people go into improv because, like you said, it doesn't require sets and scripts and
Yeah,
rehearsals.
it's
So-
in the moment. What do I
Yes.
got to do? I just got to show up.
Yes. So the
and be
idea of
funny.
hard work is like sort of lost on improvisers. So when Darren said, "I'm doing this podcast," and I'm like, "Great!" And I heard his first episode, and he's like, "I want people to help. I want people to call in and be characters." I was like, "How can I help?" He set up a website, he edited the thing, he recorded it, he researched it, he was taking workshops, he's gone to Reddit,
he is so
he is the podcast. It's
he is
his
so
podcast.
thorough. Yeah, it's his. I mean, he top to bottom, and
Yeah.
he's constantly trying
on
to
it.
tweak it and
make it
and make it bigger
Yeah.
and better.
And so he said, and so I'm like, "Darren, how can I help? If you're gonna put this kind of work in, if you're gonna see this thing through, how can I help?" He's like, "I need characters." So I said, "Okay, here's a character I'll do." I just thought this was gonna be a one-off. I thought this was gonna be episode 2. And
I
then
thought it was gonna be a
Yeah,
one-off.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's what he does. That's Darren's genius. That's how he draws you in.
Yeah.
And now you're part of the podcast for life.
I thought it was a guest appearance and
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
You
but
know,
it's so
one
fun
and done.
and infectious. So the premise is he's a paranormal investigator in a fictional backwater town in Pennsylvania called Dunglewood, and he broadcasts from a T-shirt kiosk in the mall where he sells T-shirts. But he promotes, he sells his paranormal elimination services. Basically, he'll come and if you have a Sasquatch troubling you, he'll come and hit it with a shovel, and that leads to other cryptids, other paranormal things,
and other monsters and characters.
And,
like the
what's your
X-Files.
character?
Yeah, my character's name is Vlad. Originally, he was Vlad the werewolf, so he was a vampire pretending to be a werewolf to scare the people off his trail. And then he ends up, his character, Zeke, ends up imprisoning me in the sound booth and forcing me to be the co-host with him.
of the
So for a while, we're just like bringing in people. Gage did an episode, Phil Porter, some of my friends.
Mark Hoyk.
Hoyk did one, yeah. A buddy of mine who was on the newsroom in LA came in and he did an episode. And so...
How come they got the one and dones?
Oh no, they're coming back.
Okay,
They always
good.
come back. Jack DeVos did an episode as
Jack.
tech support guy, and we actually brought him back, Jack from tech support, who's hilarious. And then they wanted to, so he started working on writing scripts with Matt McDonald, who's another hilariously funny
Very
guy.
funny man. Very funny man.
And technical, like he's a sniper, man. He's like a comedy. He's a writing ninja, man. He's like.
I'm going to bring Matt back up later. But
Okay, good.
Continue.
So the two of them started writing, and then it became less about just interviewing wacky characters, and they wanted to put like a narrative in it.
Sure.
So they wanted to be. It became this whole conspiracy theory thing, and all the guys are on the run from the government, and it just becomes sort of like a Funhouse mirror X-Files.
It's gotten wonderfully complicated.
It has. Yes.
But I say that as a compliment.
But it has, in a way that people will post on Reddit or people will email and talk about it. They're like, I listened to blah, blah, blah episode, and I had to go back to the beginning and listen to all the episodes
That's
so I
great.
could understand. Yeah, which is exactly what we wanted.
Exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we brought you, Darren's like, do you think, he's like, we started talking about doing this like really smooth character, like this guy who's his paranormal powers, he's just so smooth, he can control it. Like whatever you need, he's like what your car won't start? Oh yeah. Oh, it must be a bad spark plug. Check your pocket.
Check your pocket. check
there's
your
a spark
pocket.
plug in my
There's a-
pocket.
There's
Yeah.
a spark plug in your pocket.
Yeah.
That-
So I'm like,
this is my gift to you.
So I said, I bet you if I asked Dino, he would totally do it. And you did. You graciously
I did. I
And
am
now,
the deadly triple.
the deadly Tripodus, who lives in the tunnels underneath OSU and lures young students to their demise. Lures them down with a hunt.
with my smoothness
Exactly.
and my charm.
Yeah. It is just great fun. It's just radio. It's silly radio theater. But Darren is so focused on seeing it through and making it happen. You know, every project needs that guy, or that gal.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs that point person. So Darren's being the point person, and we're all just happy to help.
Going
And
back
he makes
to,
it fun.
to what I said at the start of the podcast, he keeps that dream alive.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps that dream alive for Squatch Smashers. That's
Squatch
so hard,
Smashers.
that's so hard to say.
Squatch, like Sasquatch.
Smashers.
Smashers.com.
.com. Squatch Smashers.
And he literally is trying to sell T-shirts. He's trying to make money on it.
Well,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know he is, and I think eventually you guys will.
I hope so.
So
We have Whiskey Business T-shirts somewhere, don't we?
Yeah, didn't he make you some Whiskey Business
he
T-shirts?
Did, he
Yeah,
did.
you
He-
can
Yeah.
Google that. If anybody wants to
that's-
do that,
that's Darren.
Google
Darren
that
not
for us.
only is uber focused on making your podcast, he
wants to help your podcast.
He takes time out to
Yeah.
send me
Yeah.
emails, thoughts, ideas,
Yes.
and so forth and so on to improve our podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's amazing. So
and he might be coming back to Columbus, Ohio.
he's working on it. So our next goal is I want to try to do like animatics. I want to try to take the strictly, we don't do a video podcast, we just do audio. I want to try to get somebody to just draw like stills.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And just make an animatic just to do like as a pitch.
You know, I wanted
To
to be a
something.
Like,
cartoonist at some point.
Can you
There
draw?
it is, there
But
it
you
is,
can't
there
draw. I need somebody who can draw.
Here's what we can
But
draw.
like home movies or
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Katz kind of did that a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or even like I think of early Space Ghost Coast to Coast where there's
Yes.
like a couple of shots.
Yeah.
Yes.
And whenever Vlad's talking, you see this shot. Whenever Zeke's talking, you see just enough to get just enough to show to somebody and go, give us money to do this.
Yeah.
It belongs on Adult Swim at 2 a.m.
And
You know
how
what I mean?
how much of it is like scripted podcasts are? I mean, we're so off the cuff and loose, which is a lot of fun. But scripted podcasts are on the rise.
Yeah.
How much of it? I mean, you guys are improv comedians, but how much of it is scripted versus just?
We have a regular season and we script every episode. But then in between, we'll do little interstitial things. Where
And I
it's
haven't been a
improvised.
part of those yet, and I want to.
Oh,
I've never had that.
He
Every
always,
time-
but he always CCs you, so you're welcome anytime. right?
I know
Okay.
he does, and every time you
Okay.
guys do them, I'm busy. I can't
Yeah.
do them, but I know that you got one coming up next, fake commercials.
Yes.
Yes, which with the characters
Yes.
involved.
Yes.
Yeah, and that have you recorded that one yet?
No, that's coming up, so you can
Is
come.
that
so you can do
Saturday?
it. I think that's Saturday. Yeah.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
I might try to.
Yeah, do
write-
it. Show up.
write
Write
one.
something. Yeah,
Write
write
one
one as
and-
the deadly tripodus and see
As
what
the
happens.
deadly trip have to be smooth. and
Exactly.
obviously
Check your
something-
pocket. Maybe it's a cologne called Check Your Pocket.
I like it. Yeah.
That's my
Check your
That's
pocket.
my repeated line.
Check your
Check
pocket.
it,
Check your
check your
pocket.
pocket. Whenever
Whatever you need shows
whatever
up
you
there.
need
Because
shows up.
that's his power. to do
Amazingly.
that. Yeah, so we improvise when we're recording a little bit, but
little.
but it's scripted for the most part.
Yeah, the first time I did it, we did a scripted pass, and then we did another pass where we could, if we wanted to veer off a little bit, we did, and then Darren amazingly edits it all together.
And the amount of time he spent, like he goes through and he puts bed, like depending on where we are, he'll put some kind of a bed in, and he does all the sound tweaking. He's not a sound engineer. He has learned. He's not a professional sound engineer yet, but he has learned, and it's so funny because, like Darren was always funny, but he was never. I shouldn't say never. He was always funny. He wasn't the strongest in the follow through department, and now it's like he was saving it all up for this moment.
Yeah,
like
very
he's
cool.
following through. He's making it happen, and it's like this is amazing.
And-
I would love to see
isn't it-
him get rich. I don't even care. I don't even care if you never know my name. I just want to see this thing become something so that Darren can get the credit for it because he's put all this work in, and Matt as well.
Isn't it interesting that you take somebody? Let's use Darren as an example. So you're getting a lot of play on this podcast, brother.
Yeah.
So
We don't need him on when he's
We
back in
don't-
town.
we don't-
He'll come do.
Yeah,
He'll come do
we
it.
need him on.
He'll come do
But
it eventually.
Well, when we promote it on Instagram, there'll definitely be a hashtag Darren Ensler, and hashtag George
Oh,
Kelly.
you don't have to hashtag.
Oh no, I'm hashtagging.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
thanks.
you're
All
being
right, fine.
hashtag.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, great.
But isn't
Here,
it,
see?
isn't
Either one, both.
it interesting? You talk about the early days, and I'm going to go back to the early days here and talk about a.
Oh God.
Oh yeah,
I know where you're going.
Well, I have to because I'm in it. I have an early experience
Do
with all
you
of
know
you.
who emailed me the other day before you start your story? I know no one's gonna. I should let you set up the story so people
No,
care
tell
about.
me.
Betty Gadam
Betty Gadam.
from The Bone
Yeah.
emails me, goes, you don't remember me, but I was in a movie with you guys, and I
Yes.
never got a copy, and my friends don't believe me. If you ever finish that, I'm like, of
Oh my
course I remember you.
God.
Today I will put a copy in the mail, and I sent her a DVD of the movie.
The movie is called Good Night Cleveland.
Oh God.
I know. Hey, dude, I've got them. I've got more than one of those.
Yeah.
In my history.
Here's the thing, though. It doesn't deserve. I don't mean to show contempt, because it took a lot of people working really hard to make it happen. First
And
of
it
all,
was shot on film.
yeah. First of all, me was the line producer. Shot on. Here's the thing. So, improv troupe never produced anything in their lives pre-DV. So this is before digital video. This is
Right.
before you could just make crap on
Like
your
I
phone.
said,
right?
shot it on film.
Pagers, shot on 16 millimeter. And so, of course, the first project we do out of the gate is a feature, and it's a drama. which makes perfect
John
sense.
Whitney
It's
laughs
a feature.
out loud.
It's a drama, and it involves an improv comedy troupe.
That's not funny.
That's not funny. That part came
And-
naturally.
Yes, that part we didn't have to fake. That part was easy.
I kid.
It's so funny though,
I
but that's
kid.
part of the genesis of it. It was like we were beating our heads against the wall trying to get like and like the Funny Bone was nice about giving us time every now and again. Different places took a chance with us now and again. We had different, but we never really clicked.
No.
the troupe that did it. We never really we amused ourselves. We had some good shows. We did some corporate stuff. We did this and that and the other. But we just never like really hit our stride. And that's sort of the spirit that ended up in this film. Like this troupe is just not funny, but they're trying so hard, and then they get caught up in the drama of them.
And in the film, they're moving drugs.
Yes.
Yes.
In the film, the evil comedy club manager, because that's whose fault it was, right? Is the evil comedy club manager.
So who would
otherwise-
that-
Who would
yeah,
that be?
that would be you.
That would be me. That would
Ian.
be Ian.
Who was
I played
named
it.
after the guy at the Holiday Inn, who was the guy responsible for getting us our weekly gig at the Holiday Inn. His name,
did
his
not know
name was
that.
Ian.
I
Yeah,
didn't
he
know
was the
that.
guy that was on our side, and we made him the evil. That tells you where our mental state was. Like we're kicking the people that are like helping us. Yeah, he uses the comics to run drugs from town to town, and we get caught up in that whole thing.
That's
I
a
mean,
good.
it's a good- it's
premise.
an interesting
Yeah.
premise.
It's fun, and when you look back on
And
it,
I actually enjoyed playing the part of Ian.
yeah, and you were good at it. And there was that one
Well,
scene.
he's-
There was
he's
that
a
one
pimp and drug
scene
lord.
because it was on 16 millimeter. When you hear that camera running, right? DV people and cell phone people are not going to get this at all. When you hear a film camera running, click, 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 you hear $100, $200, $300. Cut the scene. $400. It's like. There was that one scene that we did in the club,
Oh,
and
do you remember
I
when Mick-
remember,
do you
and
remember when
Mick
Mick-
cut you off, and you were like, "Oh my god, that was my moment!" I was
like because I was taking.
He was taking his.
He's
moment.
looking
I was
at John, the
I
director.
was
It
Of
was a
taking-
course.
perfectly legitimate
I was
beat.
looking at
It
John,
was
the
his
director.
to take.
I was taking a dramatic pause.
Yeah.
Okay, a dramatic. It's
a $100 pause
a
right there.
dramatic pause, because this was a very intense scene,
Mm-hmm.
and then while I'm taking the pause, God bless Miguel, I hear the director Miguel Baldoni, whisper the line to me, and he thought I forgot my line. I didn't
He
forget.
knows his line. He's in the moment.
I
Let it
didn't
go.
forget the line. I got the line.
Yeah, and
And
then
we were,
yeah.
I was with some friends not too long ago, and we were talking about old projects that we got involved in our youth, and I dug up Goodnight Cleveland, and one of my favorite scenes, selfishly for me, is when you shot in my house on East California. Remember the big
Yeah.
spacious place?
Yeah.
I was in my robe.
And the kid.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
And I was blowing Matt
Yeah.
McDonald shit
Yeah.
about, and I had this whole little soliloquy
Yeah.
about people that come into my club. And,
Yeah.
and it was like,
That's a good scene.
That's
That
a
could be-
good scene.
Yeah.
It's a good scene.
Can people
Miguel-
find this? I mean, is it on the interwebs? Is there a DVD? There's a
No, there are
VHS. There's a
DVDs.
VHS tape
There are
of it somewhere.
DVDs.
There's a
But the-
Betamax of
there's
it.
a-
It's a laser disc the size of a 33.
Yeah, huh?
No, but there are DVDs.
I have a DVD.
Yeah. If
I-
people want it, we
obviously-
can figure out a way to
All
get
right.
it. To,
Yeah. Whitney's
I
got to
don't-
figure out a way to put this on
it's funny because
Whiskey
it-
Business with
it
Dino
would never have
Tripodis
gotten
on YouTube.
finished. It would never have gotten finished had it not been for it. It sat, in the can. We couldn't finish it because it was on film. And Miguel's roommate, Jim, my new advisor, you didn't. I didn't think.
Oh,
you
yeah,
didn't
my
know I
new
wasn't
advisor.
there.
That was an,
What's his
that was
name?
another-
Jim? I
that
can't
was-
remember the
There was
guy's
another
name.
film shot here in Columbus that
Yeah.
that actually got some play.
We were going to edit it on his Steenbeck, and it just never got done, and nobody was interested in it anymore, and we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have
broke.
coverage. Yeah, we didn't have, it sat there until Ross and Micah Jenkins, who are now producers, who are credited as producers on it, were like, this needs to get finished. Too many people worked on it. You promised too many people too many things. This has to get edited.
It has to
and
get done.
we transferred it to digital, and they freaking edited it, and it tells a story, man. And
It
it's-
does tell a story.
and it's
It does.
I would love at some point in my career, on my bucket list, is another shot at that. With, of course, younger, none of the I don't know if any of the original cast could be in it, but like
It's like the mule.
yeah, exactly.
The comedy version.
You could probably be Ian.
I'll still play.
Yeah, you could probably still play it. You would still fit that role. But like young kids, you know what I mean, doing the improv. I think if it had it,
I had a
given
beard.
chi-
I had a beard in that.
Yes.
And I just now it's a little grayer. And
Yeah.
I'm a little
And
older, but I can still play.
somewhere. Teeters, until recently, I think he got rid of it, had the banner that was, we couldn't call it the Funny Bone, so we called it Rib Ticklers.
Rib ticklers, right?
That was the name of our fictional comedy club.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
You're
it
not
was
allowed
a
to do that
great.
anymore.
You're not.
You
Well,
can't tickle anybody's ribs.
it was. It was great, and it was. We learned a lot.
You did.
We learned a lot doing it, and it was not what we wanted it to be, and it was not. But having done it, it's painful. There's nostalgia there from the true meaning of the word nostalgia. You know
And
what I mean?
that's the I don't want to say funny thing, but kind of cool thing is that the movie in a whole is kind of a train wreck, but there are isolated moments where everybody in that film has a great moment.
Yeah.
You have a great moment. Matt has some great moments.
Oh, yeah.
In it. You know, I look at it and I like okay, I know this film overall is a mess, but that was a good moment. You know.
Yeah. And we made it for nothing, like $5,000, I think, like which was Fort Knox to us.
And I also found it very interesting that one of the cast members in that film wound up being the sheriff of Franklin County.
Oh, Zach?
Yeah,
He became sheriff?
yeah,
Is he still in town?
yeah.
I could look him up.
No, he's not sheriff anymore,
Oh,
but he
is he
was
still around?
Yeah, he's still around.
I got to find him.
Yeah, he was in that movie, and he played a
Yeah.
cop,
Yeah.
and he wound up being
That's amazing. I didn't realize
sheriff
that.
of Franklin County.
Because he was doing
And
undercover
I would
work.
see him. I would see him, you know, on the news.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and then when he was actually, you know, taking the job of sheriff, I wonder how deep he's buried. Goodnight Cleveland.
He was talking about doing undercover work and liking the acting, and that's why he wanted to be an actor.
It's like
Yeah.
Barry.
Barry?
Barry on
Oh,
HBO.
yeah. But yeah, we learned it's. I'm glad we did it, but it's embarrassing, right? It's like a school project that you're embarrassed of, but it was so
You shouldn't be
important to
embarrassed.
do.
You shouldn't be embarrassed because once again,
No, I shouldn't say embarrassed. That's the wrong word.
That
I'm
is the wrong
embarrassed
word.
that I wasn't better at it at the time. Does that make sense?
Here's the
You know what I
thing,
mean?
man. Here's the thing. You know what? At the time you were doing it, at the time that we were all doing it and involved in it, we believed in it.
Yeah,
You know, the work was sincere.
it was.
The drive was sincere, and everything you wanted to do about it, you thought at that particular time that you were making art. I mean, that you were doing something substantial. So fuck it. No,
Yeah,
don't.
you're right.
Don't. Embarrassed is the wrong word. You should
It
be
is.
proud of the fact. How many people make a movie?
That's right. That's right.
How many people make good, bad, or indifferent? How many people make a movie?
That's right.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't.
Did you
And
hear Did you hear the Jimmy Smith story?
No.
Originally, we wanted Jimmy Smits to be in the movie. So
You had a chance to get Jimmy Smith in the movie?
no, we never had a chance. That's the funny part. Was Miguel wanted Jimmy Smits, so we found his agent and we contacted his agent, and they gave us a series of hoops to jump through, thinking we would get discouraged and walk away.
No.
And we never did. And finally, it got down to the last. We passed every test they gave us. We need this. We need this. We need this. We need this.
Every test.
Finally, Jimmy Smits calls Miguel and says, "Look, I love that you guys want me to be in this movie, but you've never made a movie before. I can't come be in your movie."
Can't do it.
Yeah, so it was funny.
What part would he have played? Don't say Ian.
No,
Ian?
at the time, it was supposed to have a different sort of cultural sort of perspective to it. That was the other thing. People wouldn't show up, so we had to sort of adapt. That was the other thing. There wasn't really a script. There was a script, but it was getting rewritten as we went, based on who showed up that day.
Okay, but I find it, and the reason I bring up Goodnight Cleveland, because that was in our youth.
Yeah.
Our
What year, loosely?
90 something like that.
95,
Probably
96.
90s, late 90s.
Well, you know,
Says.
for the technical geeks, digital video wasn't available yet.
That's right.
So we had to shoot it on film, much
That's
like
right.
Bottom Feeders.
Yes.
Was shot on film.
Yes, and I loved Bottom Feeders.
I like Bottom Feeders too. I'm very proud of Bottom Feeders. That is available on the internets. Yeah, Bottom Feeders. Oh
Yeah?
yeah.
Oh, good.
And ironically enough, since you did an episode of Criminal Minds, in Europe it was the title was changed to, when it had European distribution, it was called Criminal Minds in Europe.
Whoa. Mind blowing. I didn't know that. Good one.
Yes, Plank McCall.
Plank McCall.
That was my character.
Oh, and speaking of which, all the MCTD guys were in it. They played crazy redneck folks, and
Yeah, they did. Michael Loftus, who's huge right now.
Larry Ramey.
Larry Ramey. Yeah.
Was Gage in it?
Gage was in our film. He had a cameo in our film, The Street Where We Live.
Oh, nice.
The last film we just did that is currently being shopped for distribution as we
Very
speak.
nice.
So yeah, so he's
Very
been
nice.
and we had Larry in it as well. Larry Ramey was the
Hilarious.
Yeah, so see, we still go back to the well.
Yeah.
Well, and what's with all you comedians doing drama? Like, why are you?
Isn't that
you know,
funny?
Like, yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah,
I-
the comedians
It's
are
more
actually very
hypothetical, but yes, I get it. Yeah.
because comedians. Well, let's
It's like
let's share our opinions here.
Sure.
Comedians, while up on stage and are providing laughter and mirth for an audience, a large percentage of us on stage have a dark soul
sure.
and a lot of drama inside of us.
It's a
So-
defense mechanism.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when we get the opportunity to do drama, it actually comes a lot more naturally.
Well,
It's easier for a comedian to do drama than it is for a dramatic actor to do comedy.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, and so some of my like comedy heroes growing up, Adam Sandler did Punch Drunk Love.
Yes.
Great movie.
Jim Carrey has gone off the deep end doing a lot of great serious
But
stuff.
he's done a lot of serious stuff.
Will Ferrell did Stranger Than Fiction, which was rad, and Robin Williams. Like some of the best dramatic performances are from
from comedy.
Yeah.
comedians.
And part of that too, I think, is insecurity too, right? It's the idea that I can hide behind drama.
I don't have to be. I don't
Just
have to
in
be
case-
funny
yeah,
all the
just in
time.
case my
Hey.
funny's not funny
Yeah, I
enough.
have to be improv.
Yeah,
is
and
so
again, it's that right, 'cause when you're
raw.
Yeah, because when you're and that funny when you're on stage is comfortable to hide behind, but it's driven by this like
By this desire to be
Yeah.
really funny and,
Right.
and kill.
and love
And in drama,
yeah,
you just have to be effective
yes,
and cut through.
yeah, and just
And-
be real.
And
Just
be
be
real,
open,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think a lot of comedians draw from
Not
something.
not to belittle what
Yeah.
not to belittle what dramatic actors.
No,
do,
no, not
because-
at all, not at all. But I'm saying, as far as those worlds
Yeah.
are concerned, John and I, the film we currently have out there, The Street Where We Live, is a drama, and my friends constantly berate me. You're a comedian. When are you going to do something funny? When are you gonna do a funny movie?
I've been thinking about this whole podcast.
You
Waiting
know?
for that.
Hey, touche, Greg Hansberry. Touche. Well done, sir. Well done. Well done. But
He's my boy.
the point being is that comedy on film is hard. If you don't get the beats, you miss the beats. You're screwed. You have a flop. So
It's all about yeah.
And the vice versa. I know you. This is kind of beating around the same bush, but Robert De Niro doing the Mueller stuff on SNL, it just is falling flat with me. And it's nothing against him, but and I know he's
Why-
a
why
very
is it-
talented actor.
Why is it you don't like?
Well, I guess that's a very narrow observation of his
Got it.
performance. But I guess my point is that
he doesn't,
dramatic actors can't always pull off that.
he doesn't look comfortable.
Right, and
Right?
he every time you go back and watch any other
He
time
doesn't
he's
look
on, he
comfortable.
fucks up the lines.
Use up the line.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's a gift. It's a talent. It's a skill.
and
It's a
he is
skill.
There's
funny
a
at
there's
that
a rhythm in
time.
Now,
there.
but
There's
yeah.
you put him on. I'm so looking forward to the Scorsese film that's coming up on Netflix with De Niro and Keitel and Joe Pesci and Al Pacino. They're the Irishman. They're gonna.
And it's gonna be
that's
amazing.
gonna kick ass. But that's multiple
That's in their
takes from
wheelhouse,
Scorsese and it's
yeah.
editing and so forth and so on. You get the best of what those guys do on film.
Yeah.
So we got to start wrapping it up here, Georgie, as we move further on with you
yeah,
personally.
me.
And you, keeping the dream alive. What's the goal? Where you mentioned earlier in the podcast when I was teasing you and calling you Georgie, I'm
Yeah.
50 years old. All right, and your optimism has always been amazingly refreshing to me. And, always positive. I don't know if you go through. You mentioned some dark moments when your mother passed away, but I don't know if professionally do you go through dark moments, and where do you see yourself? Has keeping the dream alive, has it altered for you moving forward?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I go through dark moments every freaking day. Every time I perform, it's preceded and followed by a dark moment.
I mean, let's look at our lives. I'm going to be 60. You're going to be 50.
Yeah.
Did you think that things were going to be different at 50? By now, did you think that you should have been at a certain plateau or level at 50?
I never thought that I would actually be able to do some of the things that I'm doing. Like, I never thought I would go to LA, or I never thought I would act in anything. I never thought I would actually be on TV. I thought it would be fun to be on TV.
And you're on NBC Superstore. I might add that again. I'm going to say that. I said it earlier. I'll say it again now.
Yeah.
You're on NBC Superstore,
yes,
which is a very popular show
and fun.
and renewed for another season.
Yeah,
so you're in
they
the
might have me,
syndication.
maybe.
SNL and like
yes,
Improv
I would have loved to have been on SNL. I think
Did
that
you
time
ever
has
audition?
passed for me. No. Here's the thing about SNL. You don't audition for SNL. Comes looking for you. They're like the mafia. You don't go to them. They come to you.
They find you.
They find you.
So they have to be sitting in an audience on one
Well,
particular
there are
night.
times when they're looking for we're looking for a specific type, and they go out to the comedy theaters and they say, okay, all the people of this type, let's put together a demo reel to send to the people that do the evaluation, and then based on those, they call in some people and that kind of thing. So I've never been asked to audition. I have never been around when they don't need a lot of pudgy white guys.
They
always have.
He reminds me of Robert Smigel. You look like Robert
Thank you.
Smigel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a compliment.
That's a compliment.
I think he's hilarious.
He is hilarious.
But they've had pudgy.
They
white
have,
guys.
but they're never looking for those guys. Those
They're
guys are always
looking for
around. they always have those guys.
There's a plethora
in New York.
There's a
ready to
plethora
go.
of
Yeah.
pudgy white guys.
So the fact that I get to do anything amazes me. Right? I would love. The ultimate goal was I would love to be on a sitcom. Like I grew up watching Cheers and Wings and Happy Days and Three's Company. Like I just want to be
all forms of the sitcom.
Yes, I want to be. I just want to be Norm for a season. I just want to be Kramer for a season. I just want to be it doesn't need to be my show. I just want to be on somebody's show long enough to make people laugh
Have
to
you
be
ever
able to pay
thought
the
about
bills.
Writing a show?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you've got some
I
ideas.
got a hard drive full. If you want to read anything else, I'll email them to
So
you.
do I. Not a hard drive. I got hard copy.
Hard copies.
Typewriter.
Type-
Yes.
Yeah, so I've tried writing, and I'm working on that, and that's the thing now is that's what you do now. The thing that improv has been supplanted by putting stuff online. So rather than what improv used to do for your career, now it's put stuff on YouTube or Funny or Die.
So are you happy with where you're at?
Yeah, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm always going to keep trying to act
But you're not
and make
content.
people laugh. No, because I can't be content.
No.
Because if I were content, I would stop doing anything.
Exactly.
I'm not, and I will never be content. That's the curse of the art. That's the curse of the comedian.
That's the blessing.
That's
as
the
well.
blessing too. Yeah, because if you're content, you stop doing anything.
Yeah, you remain unmotivated.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think that's that's the sad fact that some comedians fall into when they end up taking their lives. It's like I'm never going to be content. And I think that sometimes that'll twist your gut the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
And like,
obviously, it has. We've seen it. But
yeah. But you have to understand that, and it, like you said, it's not just a curse; it's a blessing too, because that keeps you doing things. That keeps
I'm
you
still
working.
motivated. And maybe you don't feel it at 50, but at 60, I feel that there is a finite amount of time
Yes.
in order to
Yes.
accomplish certain things.
Yes.
But then I read about a woman who, at 80 years of age, published her first novel.
Yeah.
And I hear about these people, late in life who have had, success.
Yeah.
And that's their bucket. That's their
Yeah.
bookend.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And that's the
check.
thing. We live and it's amazing we live in a world now. The way the world is right now, it's that you can do that. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can make podcasts and videos, and you can shoot your show right now. And anytime anybody asks me, "Hey, I'm new to town. What should I do?" I tell them, you do not wait for permission. Like there's no line you go stand in. People are looking for like, what do I have to do next to do the thing that I want to do? Just do it.
Just do it.
Are you a filmmaker? Go make movies. Even if it's Goodnight Cleveland, you'll learn stuff and then you'll make better movies.
Content is king.
Content is king. Yeah. You want to be you want
said.
to be in a band? Start cranking out. There's no reason you can't start cranking out tracks right now and put them on iTunes. Like
Right.
whatever that thing is you want to do, you don't need anybody else's permission. I wish when I was in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah, right.
Someone had grabbed me by the collar. No institution, no school or theater or show makes you successful. You make yourself successful, and then these entities claim you. Oh, he was one of ours. Oh, she was one of ours.
Yeah, but
I mean, they help you. They help you to network, and you get to meet people and that kind of thing.
Unconsciously, something grabbed you by the collar. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be doing what you're doing.
Well, that's true.
So something, some force.
Something has to, yeah.
Some force grabbed you and kept you motivated and kept
Oh,
you going.
yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. But if I I wish I had known that like 10 years earlier.
Now, who doesn't want to go back? And
That's true.
if I knew now what I knew then, If I
Yeah.
knew,
So
if I
that's
knew
the
then
thing.
what I know now.
That's the thing. I wish I had known then what I know now. It's
Yeah,
like
well, everybody's
nobody
got
else
that.
is gonna. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You want a show. You want a podcast. You want to be a sculptor. You want to be.
I don't want to be a
writer.
sculptor.
You want to be a cartoonist. Start drawing cartoons.
I don't want to be a cartoonist anymore.
Start drawing
I don't wanna-
cartoons.
though I see some of the cartoon strips and I go, well, I could have drawn that.
See,
You know?
see.
I look at Pearls and Swine. I go,
Even Garfield has to say something.
I look at Pearls and Swine. I go, those are pretty crude cartoons, but the writing is exceptional.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is Squatch Smashers needs a graphic artist to
And
take
then
us to the
Darren
storyboard
will,
level.
Again, Darren, you get another mention. Darren will find one.
Will he? I hope he does.
he will.
I've been trying to put that word. If anybody's listening and listens to squatchmashers.com and likes it and wants to draw
Or listens to Whiskey Business.
or Whiskey
and
Business
and likes to draw.
Yeah. And you're interested, let us
Let
know.
me start. What'd you think of this? Because we
was
emptied the
great.
bottle.
It
The
was
Old
awesome.
Forester,
Very light
100%,
and-
100 proof rye,
100% gone.
100% gone. Would you like it?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Did you? Are you sophisticated enough of a whiskey drinker to pick up on certain things?
No.
No.
I almost would have liked. Yeah, that's it.
I just like it.
It
I
went
didn't
down
like
good.
it, and I wish
I
there was
would
more.
drink a damp sponge if it's good.
It was thirsty enough.
No, but I'm at that that level of whiskey that's like what's not the well, like what's your next shelf above the well. That's where I'm in my whiskey
that's where
career.
you're at right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes the second shelf. So like I love like Buffalo Trace,
Yeah, Buffalo in on
and
that second show.
Ohio,
Look, dude,
and those kinds of
some
things.
of those whiskeys that you just mentioned are terrific whiskeys. You
Yeah.
don't have if you get to the top shelf, I'm sure you enjoy them.
Yeah,
but
sure.
what you're drinking now is just fine. Much
It's
like
delicious.
this one, $23 a bottle.
Yeah, it's
This
great.
is this is crazy good.
Yeah.
Wait,
Crazy
can,
good.
let me, because I've had a good palate lately, thanks to you, Dino.
You're welcome.
I would have liked this rye to be funkier. It was almost as little. I don't know what John's thinking over there, but
There
I
wasn't
wish it
enough
was a little more.
Do you find this rye
Funky
to be
rye.
rather pedestrian, Greg Hansberry?
Well, I just was expecting a lot of funk.
We pumped it up so much.
I mean, it was delicious, but I don't know. I guess I was looking for my.
It's like that Martin
my
Short.
ta-
I wish it.
I
would've
wish
been
I
a little-
enjoyed
yeah,
it.
It's empty. Yeah.
Because
It's like that Martin Short character. This is a whimsical rye. If this rye were a child, I would slap it on
If
the
Old
head.
Forester ever watches any of this, we love your stuff. So, and
It's
I
It
love
was really
boisterous.
good. It was good.
Boisterous. What was bountiful?
oh yeah.
Bountiful.
I
we
would
had
have
the
preferred a little more bounty.
Didn't you say something about black pepper? It was supposed to.
peppery? Rise
Peppery.
or peppery.
Yes.
Right.
No, it was good, but I was expecting it to be a little more funky. But it was very good, and actually, so probably it's a good rye to get.
Oh no, it's,
But it was
it's-
smooth.
you
It
know
was
what?
much smoother than
for
all
those
of the
people who like
ryes.
to drink every day and have a little nip.
It's
this
a good rye.
If you wanted an everyday rye, this would be an exceptional rye.
And not to throw off the course, Old Forester is a mint julep whiskey, right? They use that in the mint julep. Do they normally do ryes in the mint julep, or is it just the straight?
That it depends on who's making your
doesn't matter.
mint julep.
All right.
Much like the Manhattan. Some people
Rye,
make them
not
with
rye.
bourbon. Some people make them with ryes.
I'm just Derby Day is right around the corner.
Yes, it is. The guest bottle obviously has been Old Forester 100 proof straight rye whiskey, and the delightful and exceptional guest has been, I will say his name properly, George Caleodis.
You can say
but he-
Georgie.
but
Not-
he will always be Georgie.
Yeah, exactly.
To me.
You are the only person that can pull off Georgie.
Yeah, you'll always be Georgie to me. I'm sorry.
Don't
We
be
go
sorry.
way
It's
back.
fine. Of course
we go
do.
way back.
Of course we do.
As
Thanks for having me.
From our roots in Steubenville to where we are now, I consider myself blessed to still call you a friend and a creator, if you will, with what we do. We're still making some sort of
We're
magic
still
out
playing,
there.
yeah.
We're still playing. We're still playing. That's a great way to say it. We're still playing. So I hope we continue to play for a lot more years to come.
Thanks for having me, man. This was
My
this
pleasure.
was a blast.
Hansberry, you want to do a couple things before we close? And I thank everybody.
And George, what are some of your you got websites, the social medias?
You search my name, Caleodis, Caleodis. That's my handle on
Say it
Instagram.
slower. We're drunk.
Caleodis. Long E-O.
Caleodis.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My Twitter is my that's the thing where I'm trying to get as many followers as I can. Like that's where my writing snippets go. So if you want to help me,
I saw a
follow me on
recent
Twitter.
one with you at the grocery store.
Yeah. I was shopping for whiskey.
Looking for the state store and
The Kroger on London Groveport Road. You got to understand, in LA, the grocery stores are the size of this room.
right.
But it's like sprawling. And I
Sprawling.
literally walked around for 10 minutes and I couldn't find the liquor portion.
Of the
There's
store.
sporting goods, there's frozen food, there's the salad bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Back to school clothes.
but seriously,
Yeah, everything.
in
Yeah.
Kroger.
Yeah, in Kroger.
It's not
Yeah.
Meijer. Are they trying to be Meijer all of
Yeah.
a sudden or Walmart?
Is that the one that also has a bar?
Yes.
Yes.
There's like a wine bar.
There's a wine bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I know
amazing.
a lot of people in that area of town actually go there for happy hour. They
Yeah.
go to Kroger for happy hour.
Yeah, and
then they go
Worthington
grocery
does that.
shopping.
Yeah, Worthington does that too. There's a
There's
happy
strip
hour
club
going
nearby.
on.
I don't know. Maybe.
All right, well, let me read a review. We got
Please
a 5-star review from T-Klein40. Thanks, T-Klein40. She says, never fails to entertain innumerable topics, eclectic guests. Dino is intelligent, funny, and full of worldly wisdom and experiences.
Of course you are.
And then she goes on to say, oh, yeah, and there's whiskey.
And there's whiskey. Yeah.
So thanks, T. Klein. But yeah, we appreciate your reviews and rates on iTunes because their fancy algorithms help
What's that word
other
again?
people. I don't know how to spell
You
it.
keep hitting that word.
Well, oh, wait, set the mathematician. How do you spell it and what the hell
I
is
don't
an
know how to spell it.
algorithm?
I'm not
All
even-
right.
Yeah, it's a.
But just keep doing it because it helps spread the word about Whiskey Business. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on YouTube. Follow us and subscribe. There's a little button right there on subscribe at YouTube. Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis.
What if you
can
did
watch
this?
episode.
What if you set a benchmark for if you get a certain number of subscriptions or follows, Dino will get his own Facebook account. If you get 10,000,
He's turned down less. Yeah, 10,000 maybe. Sure.
10,000.
if you get
maybe,
10,000 followers,
Yeah.
Dino will spin off and get his own Facebook.
I
I will
think
get
more.
my own Facebook
I think you were
account.
talking about more about like the something about like the naked shows earlier. I think that might be more
Nobody
of
nobody
no,
wants
no.
to see this body
All right,
naked
all right.
anymore.
If we get 10,000
I don't
subscriptions,
even like to see
Dino,
this body
Dino,
naked anymore.
Dino won't get naked.
There it is. There,
If
that's
we
how you
reach
parlay it.
1,000
There it goes.
subscriptions this month.
That's your angle.
Our guest, George Caleodis. A big thank you to our audio producer, Greg Hansberry, as always, for making Whiskey Business sound good to your ears. And, of course, our video producer on YouTube, John Whitney, who does an exceptional job of making our YouTube videos look like an actual television show. That was one of my favorite comments from a friend of mine who said that he and his wife watch it at home and put it on the big screen.
Uh-oh.
That's it. Treat it like a TV show, so
like
it becomes
a TV
one.
show. Yeah,
That's
they
it.
watch it like a television show. It's in their queue. Sweet. Yeah, so nice. So thank you to John Whitney. Whiskey Business is a Never the Luck production. Provided effectively by these two gentlemen, and of course my exceptional and eclectic guest,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
George Caleodis.
Thank you.
So thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
Give my love to your
Anytime.
father.
We'll do.
And your whole family.
Will do.
Safe travels back to Los Angeles.
Thank you.
And until the next
And
bottle,
we're gonna do the next Geezer show.
you call me when
I
you
will
wanna
call
do-
you.
You call me when we want to do the next Geezer show.
Teeters, make the call.
Make the
Set it
call.
up
Is it coming up soon?
whenever he does it.
Oh Jesus!
We'll let you know.
We'll make sure we will let everybody know in Whiskey Business when
Awesome.
and
When
if
the
it
next-
happens.
And you
Yeah.
guys can play too, right? You guys qualify as geezers.
Oh,
No, not Hansberry. Hansberry.
You're an honorary
Yeah,
geezer.
Hansberry still has his millennial card.
oh. But
You have so much
my
disappointment
fans
ahead
will
of
like
you.
it though, so yes.
Okay, good. There you go. There you go.
But he's as a result of being with us, he's got an old soul now. Whether he wanted
course.
to.
And a drinking problem.
And it's,
And on that note, until the next bottle, see ya.